name is Nate Pamplin, and I'm with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Welcome to our three-part series on providing an in-depth review of our special permits, our multi-season tags, and our raffle hunt opportunities. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive into special hunting permits. We're going to cover a lot of topics in this video, so please be sure to look at the chapters embedded in the video to skip ahead to information that might be most useful to you. And as always, reference the regulation pamphlet for more information. So, why is it that Fish and Wildlife agencies utilize special permits? Our primary goal is to help us achieve our wildlife population management objectives. Special permits also allow us to provide unique hunting opportunities and experiences. Hunters can hunt during the rut. It reduces hunter crowding and hunter density. Hunters have a higher expectation for increased success rate, and there's often an opportunity for older age class bulls or bucks. In addition, some of our categories are designed to provide opportunities for underrepresented hunters, such as youth or hunters with disabilities. We often use special permits to mitigate wildlife damage, either to focus hunting pressure in a certain area or to provide, for instance, a second deer opportunity. And then lastly, it does generate revenue for the department, which we use for wildlife conservation and management. So let's discuss different draw approaches across Western states. In general, there's bonus points, and sometimes states will weight those, like in the case that the department does here, and other times the bonus points are not weighted. There's also preference points where a pool of permits is set aside. In some cases it might be for residents over non-residents, or it's individuals that have been applying for a long time, and then they set up a separate pool for individuals that already have accumulated a number of points. Then they have a preference to enter into a special pool. Some states use a combination of both of these, and other states don't use any permit weighting system or point system at all. For the department's special permit point system, we do use a weighted bonus point system. A first-time applicant has 1 point. A hunter that was not selected accrues a point. And the points are then squared. That ultimately favors long-time unselected applicants. In our system, everyone has a chance to be selected, but those with more points have a better chance of being selected for a permit. So for instance, say a hunter was not drawn in a category for the past 9 years and applies again in the spring. That hunter will have 10 points entering that drawing. And in our system, the points are squared, so that hunter will have 100 random numbers drawn for that hunt category application. A first-time hunter has a single point. 1 squared is 1 random number that is drawn. So you can see how, if you've been entering the system for a long time, you have more random numbers drawn that gives you a better chance of being selected for a permit. So what is needed to apply for Washington special hunts? First, for deer, elk, and turkey, you must purchase your hunting license prior to submitting your special hunt application. In order to buy a hunting license, you need to have passed hunter education or have been born before January 1st, 1972. Hunters with a hunter education deferral license cannot apply for special permits. For deer and elk, in addition to your hunting license, you must purchase a transport tag, in which case you're selecting the weapon type and the location for elk of where you're planning to hunt. And you need to do that before you actually submit your special hunt permit application. For mountain goat, moose, or bighorn sheep, you do not need to purchase a hunting license prior to submitting your special hunt permit application for those species. However, if you're drawn, you will then need to purchase a license before you actually receive your special hunt permit. Okay, so now let's talk about when and where to purchase your special hunt applications. Applications can be purchased online, at a licensed dealer, or over the phone. You can visit our department webpage, our website, and you can see the list of licensed dealers for each county, or just simply stop by a department regional office. Our applications are on sale typically from about mid-April through middle or late May. Be sure to check the hunting pamphlet for the actual dates of the application period. Speaking of the pamphlet table, it's really important to take a close look at each of the categories and each of the fields within the table. Let's just slow down here and really walk through what we're talking about here in the table. The first thing that you'll notice is if there's font that's in red, that indicates a change from the previous season. So if it's a hunt that you've traditionally applied for 10, 15 years and you see a change, make sure this is still the hunt that you want to pursue. In the far left, there's the hunt choices. Again, a lot of times these numbers will change from year to year, and that is the number that when you go into the wild system and submit your hunt application, you want to make sure you use the accurate hunt number for your hunt choice. You have a column here for the hunt name, and then you have a column for hunt notes. Sometimes that series of footnotes, it's not even at the end of the table, but the end of the entire portion of the reg pamphlet for that species. So you might need to flip ahead a couple pages to see what those footnotes are. But often those are really important information to consider before you apply. For instance, it might be that unit is very limited in terms of hunting access. Or if you're drawn, just be sure that you'll need to coordinate with this particular landowner to allow access for that hunt. The next column is the tag that's required to apply. You'll see individual codes, for instance, EF for Eastern Washington Firearm, or EA for Eastern Archery. Be sure to to know which tag you have that matches up with the hunt choice that you're pursuing. The hunt dates and the bag limit for the legal animals, pretty self-explanatory. The unit area is often by the GMU or GMUs, or in some cases it's by a deer area or an elk area. Those legal descriptions for those boundaries are also found within the pamphlet. The number of permits just simply shows how many permits are available for that special hunt category. And then the last column shows the previous year's information relative to the number of people that applied and the average number of permits that a hunter had that was awarded that permit. So when you've logged into the wild system and you're sitting down with the pamphlet, you're making sure that the right hunt choice is being chosen that matches your desires, you can then visit a summary of your submitted hunting applications in the licensing system. Up until the submission deadline, you can edit your submitted application. You can change the preferred order of your hunt choices, you can change to a points-only submission, or you can add or remove yourself from a hunting group. One thing to note is that you cannot change your general season deer elk tag, weapon designation, or the area, for instance for elk, after the special hunt permit submission deadline. If you receive error messages in the system when you're submitting your special permit application, there's a few things that we recommend you do. First, pay very close attention to your selections to make sure that they match your application type, your tag weapon type, or the area and the hunt choice number. Confirm your hunt choices and the tag type with the current year pamphlet to ensure you are accurately selecting your hunt choice. It's a common mistake we see. People going with a pamphlet that they've had for a couple years ago and applying for this current year. The system is designed to detect errors that will prevent customers from submitting applications with incorrect information based on the license and/or tag. But you can save yourself a lot of frustration just by paying careful attention to those details. So let's talk about hunters that want to apply as a group, which is a great way to try to ensure that you're able to hunt in that special permit category with family and friends. First off, we do set maximum group sizes. For deer and elk, the maximum group size is 8. For goat, moose, and sheep, it is 2. And the maximum group size for turkey special permits is 4. Be sure to click the correct option if you are the group leader or you're a group member. Points are averaged across hunters in a group. And if the average isn't an integer, the system just simply rounds up to the next integer. Be sure to read the pamphlet carefully and follow the instructions for whether you're the group leader or group member, and make sure that your hunt choices are submitted correctly. One item that we wanted to call out, just as a cautionary note for applying as a group, is that if the tags available or remaining is less than the group size, all members of the group will not be selected. Many times hunters just want to submit for a point and want to select the point option. In this case, what you're doing is just you're buying a point, but you're not entered into the draw, and you would not have a chance then to be selected for a permit. If you want to continue to accrue points and not be selected, you can do two things. You don't have to do anything. If you didn't select any hunt choices, we'll automatically put you in the point saver option. However, you can also manually submit this as a point saver within the licensing system. So now let's take a deep dive into how the actual draw process works. Essentially, in the special hunt drawing process, kind of behind the scenes, there's the hunt draw can be divided into two primary steps. There's the actual draw to establish a ranked order of hunters, and then there's the allocation of permits based on that hunter ranking and their preferred hunt choice. I think the best way to walk through this is just to take us through a hypothetical scenario. So let's establish a fictitious hunt for pronghorn. In this example, the department's game division establishes a new special permit category for pronghorn buck. And we create two hunt choices, 1001 for the Columbia Plateau, and let's just say there's two tags available there. And then hunt choice 1002 for the basin, and there's just one tag available. And in this hypothetical example, it is the third year of the hunt, and it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So, in this example, let's pretend that there's 10,000 special permit applications are sold, and the department conducts the draw on the licensing system that's managed by our third-party contracted vendor. After the hunter data is verified by the licensing staff, the hunter points are squared, and that becomes the number of times a random number is generated in the system for that hunter. The software saves the lowest random number drawn for each hunter's entry, and the system then creates a list of hunters ranked from the lowest random number to the highest. And for the purpose of this example, we're going to show the ranking for 6 applicants. But again, there's 10,000 hunters in this hypothetical hunt. So these 6 hunters, April, her hunt choice was 1002. She had 3 points, so she's been applying for each year, and thus 3 squared. She'll have 9 random numbers generated in the draw. Dave identified 2 hunt choices. He also had 3 points, and thus 9 numbers are generated. Megan and Alan, first time they've applied for pronghorn, same with Mike, and George has been in it for this is his 2nd year, and he'll have 4 random numbers generated. So, given the number of points, you can see here the random numbers that the system generated for each of the hunters. The system then saves the lowest random number and ranks those hunters. So April's lowest random number is 32, that's what's saved. Alan's is 14, that's what's saved, and you can see the ranked order here, the ranking among the 6 hunters. The system then produces a ranked list and preps for permit application. So now we match up the hunter, their rank, and their hunt choices. Now we shift to allocating the tags. Again, hunt choice 1001 has 2 tags, hunt choice 1002 has a single tag. So Alan was ranked, had the lowest random number, first in line to get an available permit. He had put down his first hunt choice was 1002, and thus he was selected. April had the second lowest number that was saved. She put down hunt choice 1002. Unfortunately, 1002 only had a single tag, which was already assigned to Alan. And because April did not include a second hunt choice, she was not selected. Mike was next in line. His hunt choice was 1001. There's still a tag available. He's selected for that hunt. George, the hunt choice that he started with was 1002, which was already filled. So then we turn to see if there's a tag available in his second hunt choice, in which case there is a tag that's remaining, and so he was selected. And unfortunately, Megan and Dave and 9,994 other hunters were not selected in this example. So the tags get mailed out, and then ultimately we reset the points. And so for hunters that were selected, their points dropped to 0, and for those hunters that weren't selected, accrued a point. So if April applies for next year, she'll have 3 points going into the system. If she applies again, she'll have a 4th point, and hopefully she'll get it the next round. Okay, shifting away from the hypothetical example and back to, we now have all the hunt applications in, the department's conducted the draw, and you're wanting to check to see if the results to see if you've been drawn. The results are posted to the department's licensing system under your special hunts page when you log in as a customer. Winners with valid email addresses will be notified, and again, just please make sure, log into your Wild account and make sure we have your most recent contact information. Hunters can also check their profile on the licensing system to verify that they've won. You'll see it's recorded as either being selected or not selected. Just a reminder that while we're actually doing the draw, we may pull down that particular tab in your account so that we are doing some work behind the scenes, and then we'll post the results. Results are typically posted about a month after the submission deadline. We talked about this at the beginning of the video, but wanted to circle back to how we handle mountain goat, bighorn sheep, and moose tags. Hunting licenses for these species do not have to be purchased to enter the draw, but once you're drawn and you've been notified as selected, you have until July 31st to purchase the license for that special permit. Otherwise, that permit will be offered to an alternate hunter. Now I want to turn to a number of other considerations and just some of our frequently asked questions that we receive about special permits. One thing that you might notice, especially if you've been applying for hunts since 2011, is that you might see that you have points accumulated in categories that you don't remember even applying for, or that you might not even be eligible for. What happened is that in 2011, the department expanded the number of hunt categories from an individual species, like elk, to a number of categories within a species. What we did is we just simply copied the same number of points that you had in that species category to all the new categories for that species. So for instance, if you had 5 points for elk in 2010, in 2011, you would see that you had 5 points across all the hunt categories, even if you were not a youth, but you see it in the youth category or some of the other categories. Speaking of youth, we often get questions about, well, who qualifies, especially for those that are 15 years old or turning 16. A youth qualifies if they are under 16 years of age at the time of their license purchase or their special permit application purchase. Another item that we wanted to call out is that hunters cannot change a general season deer elk tag designation or area after submitting for a special hunt permit. That selection is final and cannot be changed after the special permit application deadline. In addition, your points cannot be transferred between individuals, and your points can't be transferred to a different category. Another item that we wanted to call out is how to return a permit prior to start of the season to restore points. Hey, we get it. Sometimes life happens. You've been drawn for a special permit, but something precludes you from taking advantage of that opportunity. You have the chance to contact the department's wildlife program and submit that as a request. But know that you have to do this 2 weeks prior to the start of the special permit season. And once we receive that notice, we can then restore your points. Okay, so what happens if you end up getting, if you're drawn for more than one permit for the same game species? Well, the hunter can participate and hunt consistent with the permit and the general season. However, it is important to note that it's still just a 1 animal bag limit, and thus the hunter would need to stop hunting after filling the tag. So as an example, let's say a hunter is drawn for a quality elk in the late season, but ends up fulfilling their general season tag earlier in the fall. They cannot continue hunting for that special permit. Alternatively, if the hunter was drawn for a second deer permit, and they harvested a deer with their general season tag, they would still be able to use that second deer permit for that special hunt. As the name implies, the second deer does allow for the additional bag limit. So at the end of the fall, we need to ask you to submit and report your harvest activity. You need to submit your hunting activity for both your general season and for your special permit. You only need to report the harvest once under the appropriate opportunity. So we just like to remind folks to complete the hunting activity survey for each tag that they purchased, regardless of whether an animal was harvested or not. We ask that folks submit their hunting activity by January 10th, and then you have within 10 days of any special permit that ends later into January. And then you'd be eligible for an incentive permit. We also asked and remind you that you complete the grouse, coyote, and unclassified survey in addition to your big game activity, which is separate from the small game activity hunting survey that accompanies your small game hunting license. Overall, hunting information and your harvest reports is just critical for us to be able to manage wildlife populations in the state. So we do ask that you take the time to submit your hunting activity, the best of your memory, and report your harvest and where it occurred, how many days you were out in the field, etc. It really helps us out, and ultimately it helps you out, because the better data we have, the better we'll be able to provide more opportunities for you. Lastly, we get it. The hunting regulations and the special permit opportunities can be a bit overwhelming, not just for new hunters, but even for seasoned hunters alike, especially for folks that might be new to the state. We have prepared just a tremendous amount of information and different resources that are posted online that can help you plan your hunt and make a wise choice for what you want to pursue, especially when it comes to applying for special permits. Let's walk through some of the resources that are available. Our first is our hunting prospects. The hunting prospects are reports written by our wildlife biologists across the state. We divide the state up into 6 regions and 17 districts, and each district has an area wildlife biologist. Those wildlife biologists are sharing their perspectives on the surveys that they've conducted, what they're seeing in the field, what opportunities might occur in their district. So it's a great resource to essentially have that a report from a biologist of what they're seeing out in the woods. Another resource to review is the big game harvest reports. There you can see by species, by game management unit, or by hunt choice, all the different harvests over the years, including hunter effort, success rates, etc. A fantastic resource for you to consider exploring is our Hunt Planner web map. This allows you to explore hunter regulations, our harvest data, look at maps of public land ownership, look at the game management unit boundaries, all on a browser-based web application. If you type in hunting clinics on our search on our webpage, you can look at and find some online booklets. These are packed with information, especially for new hunters, and cover the wide variety of items about how to prepare yourself for the hunt, what to do for going into the field, including even field dressing and game processing. And lastly, if you want to really level up your game on research for reviewing and applying for special permits, I recommend you read our status and trend reports. Those district wildlife biologists that I mentioned that write the hunting prospects, this is the report that they write that summarizes all the deer and elk population objectives, what they saw this past year, their interpretation of the hunting results by each district. So it's a technical report, but it's packed with information to help you plan your hunt. With that, we hope you found the information in this video helpful to you, and we wish you the best of luck for this upcoming hunting season. As always, if you have any questions, please be sure to reach out to us. You can email us at licensing@dfw.wa.gov. Take care.